All right, welcome everybody. This is the inaugural Chuck basketball talk here, or actually any talk, but right now with the NBA playoffs going on, we're going to pretty much focus on that. Joining me today is O'Connell legend and Lawrence University's finest, Ryan DePaul. Ryan, how you doing?
I'm good, Chuck. How are you? Good to be honored to be on the inaugural edition.
Excellent, excellent. Yeah. Powell's actually been doing some blogging periodically during the playoffs here. He already had an award blog, and now he kind of touched on some stuff. I read your thing about the Clippers main play the other day. So where can we find all this?
You can find it. The website is thinkhoops13.wordpress.com. I'll try and post the link in the comments or in the description when this goes on YouTube. Yeah, we've been me and two of my buddies from school. We've been just kind of started this up with a NBA regular season awards and are keeping it going through the playoffs and into the off season, kind of seeing where it goes. So yeah, I'll post the link for sure.
Good, excellent. Yeah, it's good stuff. Good in detail, not just opinion-based stuff, just a lot of good stats, advanced metrics, and stuff like that. So very good. You guys should all give it a read. We're going to start off with the Clippers and Spurs game last night. I actually fell asleep before the game ended, so I had to go back this morning and kind of watch the end of it. Obviously, there were a few official calls that kind of are on the fence being talked about today. What were kind of your thoughts on the game?
Man, first of all, that game, man, this series, man, is incredible. These are at worst, two of the five best teams in the NBA, and it's just absurd to me that it's 2015 and we got the Wizards going to the second round of the playoffs while the Clippers and Spurs are battling out in the first round. But it's great TV. Yeah, the refs, to touch on that right away. The Clippers have kind of had this coming for them throughout the year. Honestly, they've been,
Yeah, I know. A couple of months ago, I said something. I was watching a game on League Pass, and I was just like, every time I watch these guys, it's Blake or it's CP3 or it's Doc. It's every possession they got something to say. So yeah, I agree. They have had this coming for them for a while.
Yeah, they've been testing the officials for a long time, and Billy Kennedy, I think that's who called the tech on CP3. That shouldn't have been a technical foul.
So are they saying that he said something, or just the fact that he threw the ball at him? I didn't really.
They were trying to judge intent. I think they're saying that he threw it too hard at him or threw it at his face. But it's Game 5 of the playoffs, and a series like this, that's not the time to be calling that. So in that regard, that wasn't good. There were calls throughout the game. There were bad calls both ways. It was a physical. The Clippers are not the easiest team to ref for.
No.
You have Blake barreling through the lane. CP throws his arms wildly. The Spurs, Tim Duncan gets his bug eyes going.
Yeah.
Every time. He thinks he gets fouled every time he shoots. It's not the easiest game to ref, but the Clippers, that's been the story of their new Big Three's existence, is just haven't got the breaks. And
yeah. Going back to last year too with the OKC game where they let the refs get in the way too with the Paul Flair and Westbrook ripped them and then going the other way out of bounds and whatnot. So yeah, but I think they did a nice job. The Spurs had quite a few opportunities from what I was watching from the first 3.5 quarters to kind of pull away, I thought at least. And the Clippers stayed in it. And I think there was a moment, in the fourth quarter, it was Jamal Crawford he was on like a fast break.
The transition.
He had like an up and under layup where he missed it. And then Boris Diaw, who I watched pump fake that same spot and go in the lane 4 or 5 times early in the game, actually shot the three, drills it. And
yeah, for me, that play might sum up the game. The Clippers missed layup on one end. It was contested, but an NBA player like Jamal Crawford should be able to make that layup. And then Boris Diaw, who hasn't been able to hit the broadside of the barn all series, cans a three on the other end, and then a little later in the game gets the offensive rebound, looks at the opposite side of the court, shot clock sees at 2 seconds, fires up a fadeaway, hits it again, and that's just the Spurs. They pull it out. They got the rabbit. Pop's got the rabbit in and under his foot or whatever the saying is.
Yeah. Jamal Crawford has not been good this series, though. Eh?
No, not at all. They need him to prop up that, if you want to call it a bench, on a D League roster.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. And
every time Austin gets in the game, it's just instant 10-0 run there. Clips are up 27-13. CP goes out. Rivers comes in. It's 27-23.
Yeah, I think it was even like 31-28. I think the Spurs went on like a 18-2 run or something. It was just ridiculous. But
yeah, it got bad. It was 18-21, something like that. It got bad fast, and that's if you watch you've watched the Clippers plenty. That's not abnormal, and especially against a team like the Spurs with a Patty Mills just licks his chops.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I was just about to say. I mean, you saw not only on offensively with Rivers, but he lost Patty Mills 2-3 times
on the last play or second to last play of the game, the Spurs offensive possession. He lost Danny Green wide open for a corner three. That was the play before Griffin got blocked by Duncan.
Okay, yeah.
Inside, he lost Danny Green just wide open for a corner three. That could have been a fitting end to it. Yeah. Austin blowing the game, but giving up an offensive rebound.
Was he out there in crunch?
Yeah, he put him in for after Redick fouled out with 2 minutes left, give or take. He put Barnes back in the game, so he had Paul Crawford, Barnes, and DeAndre Blake.
Oh, okay.
And then he brought Austin in for Crawford on defense.
Oh, okay. Wow.
Almost blew the game. But
yeah. And what about the offensive goaltending call? You think it was
the right call? I mean, it's a tough break. He should have let it go. You can never know, but from the replays, it looked like it was gonna fall. Blake's got pretty good touch. I was actually surprised Blake didn't throw the lob to DeAndre to begin with. I think even Duncan mentioned it in his post-game interview that he's been, like, every time he steps up to try to take Blake away on that shorter roll, they've been just lobbing it over the top of him. And
do you think part of that might be they're scared to throw him the ball in that situation? Because, I mean, obviously he's probably going to alley-oop dunk it, but, I mean, every time he touches the ball in any situation late in the game, they just drill him.
Yeah.
So,
I mean,
I don't –
yeah, that could definitely cross Blake's mind. I mean, probably some combination of maybe that, having some tunnel vision, the fact that he was 1 for 8 in the fourth quarter going into that, and wanted to make a play to kind of rectify that. But yeah, that Haka, I mean, I can't. It's terrible to watch, but I mean, I can't fault him for doing it. And there's so many. It's so deep.
Yeah, I mean, I've honestly actually kind of grown to enjoy it because it irritates so many other people. But there's nothing. DeAndre was like 50% last night, so I don't really think it was close to 50% from when I was watching him. In the second or third quarter, he was making like 1 or 2 every time. Mm-hmm. So I don't know if it ruined him last night, but I mean, yeah, it makes the game bad, and you could tell it's being game, 5 last night, that it's getting on the nerves even more so on CP3 and Blake, and you can just tell. And I don't know, it's unfortunate. I was saying last night, because they were doing it to Dwight too, that those guys should just sprint into the tunnel or into the bleachers, or just have some dude chase them around so that they can't just foul them. But so what? I'll go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I was just going to add on to your point that the psychological effect on Chris Paul, it has to grind away at you, never getting to touch the ball for like 5-minute stretches at a time. I mean, of course, at the same time, he's getting more rest than he would in a normal setting, but just not touching the ball has to while DeAndre struggles mightily at the line to get your team 1 point. It's just a frustrating feeling.
Yeah, once again, I mean, that's Doc not having a guy on the bench who you could put in this situation. That, I mean, you could throw Spencer Hawes out there, I guess, but I think you'd rather
GM Doc.
He could have had Jared Dudley. I mean, he had Bledsoe. I mean, the guys he's got rid of are but that's for another day. So what do you think? Game 6 here coming up. What do you think is going to happen?
I don't know. I expect the Clippers to give it a good push. I expect Chris Paul to have a great game. but I just think the Spurs are going to win. I think they understand. They don't want to go back to Staples. I think the Spurs are going to pull it out. Maybe Spurs by 5.
Spurs by 5.
Just another frustrating end to a Clippers season, and send them back to reevaluate things.
Yeah, and they've kind of gotten the raw end of the stick. I mean, is this a third? Is this Chris Paul's 3rd year in LA, or is it 4th?
4th. Their first year.
In Memphis.
They beat Memphis, and then they lost to the Spurs in the 2nd round. The Spurs team that lost to the
Thunder. Was that the Thunder?
Or the Thunder.
Yeah.
Yeah, that
the
was
Harden Thunder. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
And then they lost to the Grizz, didn't they?
Yep. The rematch, they lost the next year.
Yeah.
And then last year they were one cold foul away from losing to probably the best team. I think it's debatable because the Spurs were so good, but the Thunder with Serge would have probably been favored over them going into that series.
Yeah. And then obviously this year they had the
Spurs in the 6th seed.
Yeah. That's unbelievable.
Yeah, they've had
and they haven't. Danny Green, obviously Tony Parker's here, but they've been awful. They haven't been good either, and yet they still can't figure out a way to get by a team like that. And eventually you're gonna have to beat a team like that in the West if you're gonna go far. So, they can kind of use the card where they're getting the raw end of the deal all they want, but either way, you're going to have to play them eventually. But okay, so you got Spurs next game. I kind of agree. I think it might get ugly, maybe, but you're probably correct with the 5-point game. Then we got Houston last night against Dallas. Kind of the inevitable. I thought, at least, I thought Game 4 Mavs were playing well enough offensively where they could get one at home, but I kind of thought this was coming. What'd you think about the game last night?
Yeah, you kind of summed it up. It was too little. The Mavs rediscovered their pace and space, shooters everywhere, identity. One game too late, or maybe 2 games too late. The Rondo fiasco is for another day, or for maybe later in this segment. But they're better with Barea, Devin Harris, but just no bench. It sure would have been nice to have Jay Crowder, Brandon Wright, and some of those bodies to defend Harden and help them out. But Houston looks good. I'm looking at their lineup stats right now. Their first 5 outscored the Mavs. They played 64 minutes with a 117 offensive rating and 91 defensive rating. That's real good.
That was the thing. They kind of they had a great defense all year, and they kind of got away. I don't know if it was just how the Mavs are playing, but they struggled in Game 4 at least. In Game 3, they gave up a ton of points. Game 1 and 2, they were giving up a ton of points. So what was that? I don't know if that was. I think the Mavs kind of shifted when the Mavs shifted back to that offense was putting up. They were a historic offense before they traded for Rondo and ruined everything. But before then, they were a historic offense, and it was a good move by Carlisle to go back to that and just try to outscore you style of play. Dirk's a turnstile of cone on defense. Monte can't cover. Al-Farouq Aminu actually probably earned himself a decent chunk of change with that playoff performance. Yeah, and I was reading something where the Pelican fans last year absolutely did not like him for some reason.
Yeah, they cut him.
Yeah, and Dallas pretty much got him on the cheap, it sounds like. And I thought all year he played pretty well.
Absolutely. Al-Farouq Aminu, you could argue he didn't save their season, but he helped them a great deal. That team had no defense besides Tyson Chandler, who's in, and he probably thought he was back on the Knicks, just seeing guys running free at him from all angles every time, and they throw up. He steps up, they throw the lob to Dwight, and he looks bad if he sits back. Harden just goes in and makes layups, or Josh Smith, who had a great awakening. And
that's big for them.
Absolutely. They assuming it's Rockets Spurs and the Clippers don't pull it off, that should be more fun than I thought. Going into that, I thought for sure the Spurs, I still think the Spurs will win, but I thought it would be Spurs in 5, or real easy with Kawhi can probably cover Harden better than anyone in the league. But now with Dwight playing the way he is, Josh Smith's if he can keep knocking down those 3-pointers, and Terrence Jones looks good. They have a good team. It's a shame they don't have Patrick Beverly and Monte Eunice, or that's a real serious contender, and they're already quite good.
Yeah, I think the thing with the Rockets is Dwight gives the Spurs problems. I mean, he always kind of has. So, and I don't think the last couple times, 2-3 times they played, I know Dwight had a minutes restriction the last time they played, so he didn't play. He only played 30 minutes. But the Spurs really don't have a guy that can cover him.
No, playoff Dwight's a thing. I referenced it in one of my articles. I think when we were doing Western Conference playoff observations. Playoff Dwight is a thing. His numbers go way up in the playoffs. I mean, some of that's just playing more minutes and volume type statistics, but he's been good.
They seem to make a pretty assertive effort to get him the ball a little bit more in playoffs than maybe in the regular season. I think, at least. I mean, they force fed him against Portland last year.
Oh yeah,
and they force fed him for a few games this year, I thought. So that has something to do with it. But obviously, when the lights go on, maybe it's just steps up his game.
Yeah, he looks good. They're using him a lot in the pick and roll. They run a free throw line area pick and roll with him and Josh Smith. That's been the Hawks used to run that same play with Smith and Horford back in his Atlanta days. But so it's kind of a Josh Smith team specific play, which is kind of a weird thing to say, but they and it works a little better with Dwight than Al Horford, and they Mavs could not stop it, and Houston looks good.
Yeah, I think that Mikal should get a lot of credit for picking up on that. I'm sure Josh said something to him, but to actually implement it and use it as a part of your offense, I think Mikal's done a really good job this year, and especially with all the injuries. I mean, he's plugging in. Clint Capella's playing minutes in a playoff game, and Prigione's making an impact. So he's kind of – I mean, he did the thing with Troy Daniels last year too, so he's kind of – I think Mikal gets a bad rap as a coach a lot of times, but he's pushing a lot of right buttons this playoffs, I think.
Yeah, I agree. Him and Daryl Morey, everyone's favorite outspoken GM. He deserves a ton of credit. They haven't whiffed on a pick, or every move he's made, he struck out. Everyone thought he struck out this offseason when they didn't get Chris Bosh, which if that plan would have came to fruition, my goodness, that would be a team. But everyone thought they were done with that. He brings in Ariza, Josh Smith off waivers, Corey Brewer, Jason Terry, Prigione's good, yeah. Clint Capella's good. He's made all the right moves with what he's had, and they got a nice team. The thing about Capella, and I was just thinking about this before. If we thought we saw a lot of Hacka, whoever this series, going to have a field day with Dwight, Smith, Capella all being on. They have nowhere to hide. They can't even bring anyone in off the bench. Like the Clippers could. I mean, bring in Big Baby, but
realistically, we're probably not seeing a lot of Capella against the Spurs.
No, not if he keeps shooting 18%, unless he gets a shooting gun a lot in the next few days.
Yeah, that's just not going to happen, unfortunately. But all right, so you think Spurs, if they do face Houston, they
yeah, I think Spurs in 6. But I think Houston is closer to them than a lot of people would give them credit for, or maybe not. I don't know.
Yeah, I'd probably agree with that. I think Spurs in 6. I think Houston gets probably game 1. A little bit more rest. I think Spurs steal 1, game 2, and then Houston would get like game 5 or something, and it'd go 6, I think, too. So yeah, I'm on board with that. All right, so tonight we got the always entertaining Atlanta-Brooklyn game 5. Back in Brooklyn, I caught the end of game 4, in which Darren Williams circled back to 2009, apparently. So what do you think about that tonight? Atlanta's 9-point favorites. I think it stays close still.
Yeah, it's back in Atlanta. By the way, you said Brooklyn, but I thought
did it? Game 4 was in Brooklyn.
Yeah. Sad/happy it's not on NBA TV anymore. Not sure what the better April tradition is: the Masters on CBS or the Hawks on NBA TV. But I mean, for the sake of basketball, you got to hope Atlanta gets it together here tonight. They haven't looked good. Horford played better the last game. I caught some of it too. It's not really. The Hawks are okay to watch, but Brooklyn is just, my goodness.
Well, the Hawks aren't okay to watch. They're not making shots, which they haven't been. So.
No, right. Horford hasn't looked good. Millsap looks like it's bothering him. And their offense predicated on those guys, every player on the court being able to make plays with the ball. And if people aren't, it's kind of rough. The Nets have been strategically going under Jeff Teague, ball screens, daring him to shoot. And, I mean, you normally wouldn't think that's that big of a deal, but he's just either not shooting them or not making them. Combination of both. And they're gonna have to get it together because ISO Joe's good in crunch time. D. Will played good, played well in Game 4. Jarrett Jack's got a history of making some shots. I hope to God that
is giving them problems. I mean,
yeah, I hope to God Brooklyn doesn't win because Brooklyn Washington. It's just maybe that's what we need to finally get rid of conferences. We need Brooklyn Washington on national TV in the conference semifinals.
Yeah, my thing with the Hawks, I love Jeff Teague, so I don't understand that. I think the last couple of games they've kind of played him a little bit more, but I like Dennis Schroeder a lot too, but they are only playing Teague like 32, 33 minutes a game, and I don't know. I think he's a guy that you need on the court 40 minutes a game in the playoffs, in my opinion. I think I guess if he's not hitting shots, then yeah, it's going to be a struggle. But I mean, Schroeder struggled even more than Teague has.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think Shelvin Mack is the answer. So I think that, and I mean, Korver's just missing shots too, from what I've been watching. So yeah, I don't know. I think Teague should play more, but that's just me. So you got Atlanta by 10, do you think?
I'll say a little closer. I think Atlanta by 5 or 6, and I don't know. I think they'll lead most of the game, and it'll never be like in serious doubt. But Brooklyn, this is more of what I hope happens, and I think Atlanta will win. I would bet on Atlanta to win.
Okay,
and win in 6. They're much better.
Yeah. I agree. So the other game, Memphis, Portland. No Mike Conley still. I think we're going to see a little bit more Bano than Calathes tonight. Calathes kind of got trigger happy towards the end of last game and didn't work out very well. So I do think that they will close it out tonight, though. What do you think?
Yeah, I think so too. I think this has a gentleman's sweep written all over it. Portland, Dame went into hero ball mode at the end of Game 4, got that 4-point play. And then Portland benefited from that terrible call on Jeff Green box out at the end of the game when Memphis would have had the ball back down 2, and then instead Portland got to shoot free throws. Kind of ended it. I mean, if Memphis has Conley, and for Conley's health going forward is their only chance of even sniffing Golden State. But
yeah. What do you think about Lillard this year?
I think he's kind of overrated. I think I read a tweet the other day. I can't even remember who tweeted it. I retweeted it, but it said something like, "It's funny how Lillard was the one whining about not being in the All-Star game when it was pretty clear that should have been Mike Conley's spot to begin with." And I mean, I think the first few games have shown Lillard's Swiss cheese defense.
I'm on board with it. Everybody's in love with Damian Lillard, and I mean, he definitely has his moments or whatever, but this series especially, he's shooting an awful percentage. He's not shooting good shots. His defense, like you mentioned, is a sieve. I mean, he's got Calathes, Bano, Mike, anybody you want to throw in front of him is getting by him. Mm-hmm. And I don't know. I've just never been on this Portland bandwagon. I think I like Batum. Batum's a very good player, I think. I don't think Lamarcus is going to – what do you think about Lamar? I think Lamarcus is gone.
I'm starting to think he's gone too. I'm actually gonna write. I was gonna write about it after if they would have got swept, I was gonna write about it for like today or something. But now that they've kind of held off, and with the second round coming, it might get pushed back a little bit. I'm starting to think he's gone too. I think Portland's interesting. They're like Dallas. They got a very uncertain future. LaMarcus said people like to make a deal of. He said, what was it, a month ago, that he wanted to be the greatest Blazer of all time. But all the Portland marketing is with Lillard right now. They've kind of gotten behind that. He's got the ads. He's the star of the team, and I don't think. If I were LaMarcus, I don't think I would really be down with that. And I don't know if he sees a championship, and he's going to have some attractive offers to maybe San Antonio, Dallas, Houston. Play with Karl Towns and Melo and whoever else the Knicks sign in the Eastern Conference, and it's not looking that good for Portland. And LaMarcus, if he does leave, he's not leaving on a great note. I did a little math. He's 32 for 94 in the series, in 4 games.
Yeah, I know he was like 0 for 9. During a stretch of the last game where he was just chucking up shots to almost look like he was just trying to get his. But yeah, I agree. I know Dallas has already said they're interested. Houston as well. Obviously the Knicks are going to probably be in with everybody. And
the Lakers even?
Yeah, the Lakers. Yeah, Lakers will be in with everybody too. And you look at the Portland roster, and you have Wesley Matthews now coming off a torn Achilles. He's also free agent, so who knows where he's going to go. Mm-hmm. Lillard seems to almost have hit a plateau in his development, I think at least. Robin Lopez is pretty limited.
He's a free agent too.
Robin Lopez is too. Okay, yeah. Mm-hmm. And then you have Batum, who they have on a deal. I think he's there for a little bit, 3-4 years. They just signed him, I think. Mm-hmm. And he's solid, but he's injury prone. And LaMarcus is 28 or 29 now. Mm-hmm. So, he's getting into win now mode. I think
you keep going. Sorry.
Yeah, I think that one of those Texas teams would be a great fit for him. I don't know about Houston because you already have Dwight and Harden who like to have the ball in their hand a lot. I think Dallas would be a good spot for him. Obviously, San Antonio could probably fit around just about anybody.
Yeah, absolutely interesting going forward. I would be, if I were a Portland fan, I'd be getting a little nervous about it, and especially if Memphis finishes them off tonight, and it's not pretty, which they besides that last game, they haven't been very pretty for Portland thus far. I won't be surprised if LaMarcus has a new team.
Yeah, I'm on board with that too. So kind of looking ahead, obviously the Bucks are still playing the Bulls, but cheering for the Bucks, but theoretically speaking, we're going to assume the Bulls can win one of the next 2 games, correct?
Yeah, that's fine. That's fair.
Okay. All right.
I think that's gonna be a fun game tomorrow night. I'm not sure who's gonna win, but I think the BC is gonna be pretty rocking, actually.
Yeah, I think. Even the games the Bucks lost this semester, the series, they were pretty competitive for a large majority of the game. And the Bulls just had better players going down the stretch to finish it, and the better players haven't been finishing it the last couple of games. I think the Bucks definitely have a realistic chance at winning and going to Game 7, but it's just hard for me to see a team with Jimmy Butler, Pau Gasol, Joakim Noah, Derrick Rose losing 4 in a row. Yeah. So yeah, we're gonna.
That's good. I'm down with that idea.
Yeah. Okay, we're good. Okay, we're good with that. Okay, so then looking ahead to the Cavs series, obviously no K Love, no JR for 2 games, the first 2. What do you think the adjustments Blatt will make to the starting lineup or the rotation? Just, I have a general thought of what I think should happen. So, what do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. This is welcome to the playoffs. Cleveland, Kevin Love, the Thunder have no sympathy for you. A lot of teams have no sympathy.
Bulls don't have any.
Bulls have no sympathy. It's sad, and I've been scrounging some lineup data for the Cavs too. Their top 5 most used lineups this regular season all featured Kevin Love. You got to expect top 6 actually had K Love featured. You got to expect that LeBron's gonna be back playing the 4 pretty much full time. You got to think it's going to be their crunch time lineup. I'm not sure how they'll start. They might start Thompson and Mozgov. That's iffy at best on the spacing. They'll probably have to these first 2 games with no JR, but once JR's back, you got to expect Irving, Smith, Shumpert, LeBron, and then either Mozgov or Thompson. But they lose a lot of their margin for error, a lot of their roster flexibility. You can't use LeBron as a Swiss Army knife anymore, especially defensively. Like if Butler's getting hot, throw LeBron on him for a few possessions. If D Rose is playing well, go hit LeBron up there. Now he's got to cover the 4s, which I can't imagine enjoys doing. Granted, he'll be able to cover Joakim Noah, who seems to have forgotten how to catch and make layups, but he'll be fine on that. But it's still, Joakim is going to be extremely physical and make life hell for him. It really got a lot more difficult for LeBron and Cleveland going forward. And now they're just Mozgov gets in foul trouble. Tristan Thompson, they lost a lot of room for error. But I think the X factors, which the kind of forgotten guys, the Sean Marion, Mike Miller, James Jones, LeBron's old South Beach pals, toiling away on the end of the bench. They're going to need one of those guys to come through. If Mike Miller can have a 4 3-pointer quarter just in one of these games, game 1 or game 2 or game 5, and that can swing the series. So I still think Cleveland will win, but it got a lot more difficult.
Yeah, I think the LeBron to the 4 thing, there's no other choice. I don't even think you start Thompson. I think that, like you said, Mike Miller and James Jones are going to play a lot, and I wouldn't be surprised if they put Sean Marion out there to try to cover Mirotić or Gibson for a little bit, to maybe if LeBron needs to go cover Rose or Butler every once in a while. I think that, LeBron to the 4. I think their best lineup is going to be Thompson, LeBron, James Jones, J.R. Shumpert. Preferably JR when he comes back, but Shumpert for the first couple series. And it won't even shock me if they go stretches with both Mike Miller and James Jones on the court, even though that the defense then is just waiting to get picked apart. But, it spaces the floor. I think Shumpert's huge. He's got to hit shots like he did against Boston for the last couple of games. And he covered Isaiah Thomas pretty well, I thought. And he will have to check probably Rose, I'm going to guess.
Yeah, or
Jimmy Butler, yeah. Because I think Kyrie's actually done a better job covering point guards towards the end of the season. He's taken a little bit more serious, and he's going to have to do that again. He's going to have to carry the load offensively, and I'll be interested to see what Jimmy Butler's role in all this is, because the amount he's asked to do on offense now is much more than he was asked to do 2 years ago when he was just checking LeBron for 48 minutes. I don't think he can do that anymore.
No, I think I don't think Tibbs would be smart to try and have him do that for his energy's sake, which already has to be getting drained from playing 40 minutes a game for 6 months, and B, just from a foul standpoint.
And he's asked to do way more offensively now.
Yeah, carrying the load on both ends of the court. He's definitely their best LeBron defender, but I would expect you'll see Gibson covering LeBron.
I think Snell will get him a little bit, yeah.
Maybe Dunleavy. Will just try to go with the IQ and sag way off. Try the old Spurs method from 2 finals ago, where they just sit way off of him and dare him to shoot.
Yeah,
I'm not sure it's the brightest strategy, but I'm sure they'll try it. He's the best player. He's the best player in the world. There's no one way to cover him, but I expect. Tibbs will be up 23 hours a day the next few days if they can finish off the Bucks scheming for it.
Yeah, and I think I don't know what kind of role Dunleavy play. If Dunleavy's on the court a lot, then that gives the Cavs the ability to play
Mike
Jones
Miller.
or Mike Miller a lot,
Mhm.
I think. But I don't know if he trusts. I mean, he had Snell in the game late against the Bucks. He's had Mirotic in there late instead of Dunleavy. It'll be interesting to see in a series where he's. I'm sure in his head he's always thinking, we're gonna win no matter what against the Bucks. And the Cavs, obviously, he has to take a little bit different approach to that. So it'll be interesting to see if he goes to maybe Dunleavy more than he would have Mirotic or Snell because he doesn't trust them, or Kirk Heinrich, God forbid. But yeah, I don't know. It'll be interesting. I think the Love thing. I think they can survive the Love thing. I think so.
We have years of evidence to prove that they can in Miami, and just throughout LeBron's past, he's been fine playing the floor. It's just tough on the body.
Yeah, and I think he obviously probably isn't very happy about that, but you got to do it. And I think that the Bulls just kind of are a lot. I don't think they're as good defensively either as they were 2-3 years ago. I think Powell being on the court, it hurts. And I think that if Powell wasn't making what he is, which isn't a whole lot, but he was their big free agent acquisition, I think that he would rather have Gibson and Noah out there late in games, just for defense purposes. But yeah, I think, I don't know. I just find it hard to believe LeBron losing to that Bulls team who offensively still, for some reason, has trouble scoring in long stretches. So yeah, I think, what do you think? 6, 7? I think if it's either gonna be 5 or 7. I think they're gonna close them out
in Cleveland.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair. I think I'll say 7, but yeah, I'm torn on that. Like, the Bulls have the players, they just haven't been doing it. This Bucks series is just another example. They get up, they play great the first 2 games, and then all of a sudden, here come the Bucks. Just, I don't know what Rose shot the last 2 games, and Butler's played great, but yeah, it's going to be an interesting series. There's 2 very different teams in roster construction, 2 teams that don't like each other traditionally. It's going to be a fun series, and with how Atlanta looks, and I can't live in a world where Washington wins the East. We can. That's not, the apocalypse isn't supposed to come. So we can't have that. So that's the Eastern Conference Finals, assuming the Bulls get past Milwaukee.
Yeah, and that's why it sucks that it has to happen now instead of then. But I mean, it could be a blessing in disguise for both teams. Not that they'll walk through Atlanta or Washington, but it'll give them a chance to get some guys healthy maybe and get a quick 4 or 5 game series and move on to whatever West team survives that.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree.
Yeah. So, well, that kind of covers the NBA portion of this. Obviously, the draft is tomorrow, so just a prediction on who you got for the Packers pick at 30. Are they even going to pick, you think?
I think we're picking this year. We need I mean, you never know with Thompson, I suppose, that we'll go backwards and have 19 second and 5th and whatever picks. But I think, we really need a middle linebacker, someone else. I think Clay is going to stay full-time in the middle now, which would be probably best for our team based on how bad the run defense was before we moved him there last year. But the Packers are in a good position. They got a good team. They're one of probably maybe 5 teams in the league that don't have glaring holes. So they can go a lot of ways. I was doing a little research today. The middle linebacker from Clemson, what's his name? I have it written down. Stephon Anthony. Yeah, he seems like he'd be good. There's this guy from TCU, Paul Dawson. That's I guess he's really good in space and coverage.
Athletic guy.
Yeah, if we're gonna keep Clay in the middle, he's not obviously a cover middle linebacker by any means. So it'd be probably good to have someone that can kind of counterbalance him.
So you think they're keeping Clay in the middle for sure?
I think that's what I would do if I were Dom Capers. But
I like the guy from Mississippi State. I like McKinney a lot. Yeah,
I saw his name too. He seems like he'd be good. Middle, I think they got to go linebacker kind of early, one of their first few picks. Corner with Tremont Williams gone, and we're always kind of cycling through corners. But at the same time, Packers' best cornerbacks always seem to come in like the 6th round. or Shan
Yeah.
was undrafted, and so was Trevon Williams before he left. Hayward was second round, but yeah, it won't be. They're definitely going to pick corners at some point, and I mean, saying all that, we'll probably just pick an offensive lineman.
Yeah. Well, all right. Thank you for coming on with me today, Pau. We want to plug your blog one more time here. It's
thinkhoops13.wordpress.com. I'll throw the link in your description once this gets on YouTube, and yeah, expect more content on that coming, and we're gonna get some podcasts going too. I'll get you on that end at some point once I get the technology figured out and get through school a little bit here. But yeah, it was fun. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, absolutely. And we plan on doing this a little bit more as the playoffs go on and into baseball season and then into football season. So thank you again. It was good talk, and I hope you guys all enjoy. Thank you.